"You've got to do something about your wife," the pretty blonde sitting across from me at lunch said. "I know," I replied, taking a bite out of my salad. "You know she's sleeping with Ralph again, don't you?" she asked. The "she" in this case was April, my sister-in-law, who worked in my department. Ralph was not only my wife's current fling but also my boss. As you may have guessed by now, this wasn't the first affair between Ralph and my wife. The last time I caught them in the act during a company Christmas party, I nearly killed the son of a witch. I backed off, kicking Mara to the curb when she swore it would never happen again. "It's only sex, Larry." "It didn't mean anything," she cried as we drove home. Like an idiot, I believed her and stuck it out, thinking we could work it out with counseling. It seemed to work for a few months, anyway, but things were slowly going back to the way they were before. You know the drill: girls' nights out, Mara staying out till all hours, coming home late smelling of stale cigarettes, beer, and sex, all the while denying me even the tiniest bit of affection. And me? Who am I? My name is Larry Reynolds, chief engineer for a tech company specializing in surveillance gear. It was my job to oversee new designs for things like internet-capable micro-cameras and the like. Our work was mostly classified and quite demanding. I met and married Marcia out of college. There was something about her blonde hair, deep blue eyes, and killer body that made me fall in love with her at first sight. She also had a playful personality and was always open to sex. For the first couple of years, things were great. We screwed like rabbits and couldn't be happier with each other. Then I got promoted to my current position, and it all went to hell. After my promotion, we decided that I made enough so that she wouldn't have to work. So, we bought a big house and prepared to expand our family. Unfortunately, Ralph, my new boss, was a real ballbuster who made my life hell, forcing me to work up to 60 hours a week. Worse yet, he was an arrogant, smug creep who thought he was God's gift to women. I'd heard from a number of my female colleagues at work about his actions and wondered why no one had filed a sexual harassment charge against him. Then there was that Christmas party. Marcia wore a tiny dress, and Ralph picked up on it almost instantly, homing in on her like a guided cruise missile. A couple of hours into the party, I looked for Mara but couldn't find her. Someone told me he thought Mara and Ralph had been seen heading to a conference room. After a half hour of searching, I found them. Mara was on the table, her legs spread wide as Ralph pounded her with abandon. He simply looked at me as he came inside her. "Get out of here, you pervert." "I'm nearly done, then you can take her back home," he said with a smirk. Mara just smiled at me, apparently not caring that she had just been caught in the act. "Get your clothes back on. We're leaving now," I told Mara on my way out. Naturally, things were frosty at home for quite some time. Ralph cornered me the next day at work and threatened to fire me if I said anything to HR. I didn't want to risk my job, so I didn't respond the way I wanted to, but that doesn't mean I didn't do anything. "So, what are you going to do, April?" she asked, forcing me back to the current reality. "Are you going to divorce her? And what are you going to do about Ralph? Are you going to let them keep cucking you like that? You do know people are starting to notice." "Yeah, I know people are talking. Unfortunately, divorce is out. As much as I'd like to divorce her, the truth is I'd lose everything, including the house, and I'd end up paying for her to keep screwing Ralph. That doesn't leave many other options." April had a point. I could kill her, hell, I'd even thought about killing her, but that would only get me thrown in prison for life or worse. Killing her was out of the question. Whatever you do, you need to do it fast. I'm not covering for her anymore, and I'm really getting sick and tired of hearing her talk about how big Ralph is. God, this will kill our folks. They think the sun rises and sets in her. I was getting sick of Marcia's crap, too. I assured April before we ended our lunch that I had it covered and would deal with it soon. What no one knew is that I had spent the last few months preparing my revenge on both Mara and Ralph, just in case things went south again. Thanks to my job, I was able to get my hands on some top-notch surveillance gear, internet-controlled high-def cameras throughout the house, GPS devices on her car, cameras integrated into her dashboard, and microphones in her purse. Yeah, I had it all covered, and it was paying off. The evidence was pretty self-explanatory. Ralph and Mara got together almost every day, sometimes in our marital bed, other times in hotels around town. It was pretty clear they were in a long-term relationship and disrespected me every chance they could. One conversation, for example, included their desire for Ralph to get Marcia pregnant while passing off the child as mine, even making me pay for her medical expenses. I couldn't help but wonder what Ralph's wife would think of that. I also wondered what upper management would think of a mid-level manager blatantly violating their morals clause. I also took the time to get myself back in shape. I had turned a bit pudgy after my discharge from the Marines, so I decided to join a gym and took karate lessons to hone up my fighting skills. If Ralph wanted to fight, he'd be in for a surprise. But what about Mara? There was no way I was going to let her get off the hook, and I would clearly be the loser in a divorce. That's where Lopez came into my plans. I met him at the gym, and we later talked over a beer at a bar down the road. As it turned out, Lopez was an ex-con with quite a few shady connections. After letting me cry in my beer, the big black man put his hand on my shoulders. "Look, man, this shit's killing you. I know how you feel, believe me. Killing her won't help. Trust me, I know firsthand. So, what do I do? I can't kill her, I can't divorce her, and I sure as hell can't live with her. Tell you what, let me make a couple of calls. I've got some ideas that might fit the bill, and you really don't need or want to know the details. Thanks, man." We spent the rest of the night in the bar watching a game over beer. Mara threw a fit when I staggered back into the house after midnight, but I was in no mood for her crap. "Where have you been, asshole? You're drunk," she screamed. "Screw you," I yelled back. "After all you've put me through, I've earned a night out with my friends. So, get the hell away from me." Mara jumped back at that. I had never spoken that way to her before. She backed off and didn't say anything else for the rest of the night. The next day, Marcia had one of her late nights. She claimed to be with the girls, but I knew better. She reeked of sex, and it was obvious she had screwed Ralph. She stripped naked, climbed into bed, and grabbed my hand. "Touch me," she whispered. I pushed her away. "God, you're disgusting, and I refuse to touch you. Go take a shower. You smell like sex." "Screw you," she said, turning away. I kicked her out of bed and told her if she insisted on smelling like a streetwalker, to go sleep in the guest bedroom. A couple of days later, Lopez sent me a text, "Africa calls." He followed it up with, "Call if you want a reservation." "Gotcha, thanks," I texted back. I had suspicions but didn't say anything. I later got a call at work. It was Marcia. "Can you get home a little early today? I have a surprise for you." "I bet." "Yeah, I think so. Ralph hasn't been in today, so I can probably get out a bit early." "What do you have in mind?" "Well, I realized I've been something of a bitch to you lately, and I'd like to do something to fix that. Maybe a sexy romantic weekend?" "Sounds good," I said. "I'll see you this afternoon." Actually, I had already seen her, thanks to my internet-capable cameras. I also saw Ralph drilling her brains out in our bed again. Showtime, I thought. I printed images from the video, which included timestamps, and headed off to HR. I also sent an email to Dave Matthews, the CEO of our company, and a few selected members of the board of directors. I also sent a copy to Ralph's wife, Eileen Jacobs. The HR director wasn't happy when I showed up. I let her know in no uncertain terms that I was filing an official complaint against Ralph, and if his actions weren't dealt with immediately, I would take legal action against the company. Then I headed up to see Dave. I walked straight past his assistant, who insisted I wait. "Screw it, I'm going to see Mr. Matthews right now," I said, barging into his office. Dave Matthews was a big man, but he knew I had him in the company over a barrel. "I want this piece of shit fired. If he's not fired, I'm suing. Period. End of sentence." "Consider it done," he said. I thanked him and walked out. I got home about an hour later, noticing that Ralph's red Ferrari was still in our driveway. I pulled into the garage and grabbed my holstered Glock out of the glove box, just in case I needed it. Securing the pistol on my belt, I made my way inside. Ralph was sitting on the couch, drinking one of my beers, ears as always, with a smirk on his face. It took everything I had not to shoot that smirk right through the wall. Renee came down the stairs, apparently from our bedroom. She was completely naked. "Surprised," she said, smiling. "What the hell is this?" I asked, as if I didn't already know. "I'm going to take a sexy romantic holiday with Ralph for a few days, dear. And yes, I'm leaving just like this. Don't worry, it doesn't have anything to do with you. And no, I don't love him. I love you. It's just sex, right? I just want to have sex, then I'll be back, and we can pick up right where we left off. Maybe we can even have a baby and put all this behind us." "I don't think so," I told her, grabbing her left hand. I flicked her rings off, which prompted Ralph to get off the couch. "Get your hands off her," he said, taking a swing at my head. "Wrong move." I let him get a glancing blow off my head just so I could claim self-defense and then let him have it, a punch to the throat, then a few kicks to the groin. A knee just happened to connect with his nose as he doubled over. I managed to kick and stomp on his balls a few times as he lay on the floor. Marcia was screaming throughout the whole incident. I grabbed Ralph's hair and put the barrel of the Glock in his mouth, making it clear that he was this close to death. His eyes opened wide as he no doubt saw the blinding hatred in mine. "Get the hell out of my house and stay away from me and my wife. And if you ever screw with me again, I will kill you. Got it, asshole?" He nodded his head, and I dragged him by the hair to the door and literally kicked him out of the house. He made his way to his Ferrari and drove away. I turned to Marcia, who was now bawling her eyes out on the floor. "Shut the hell up, you good-for-nothing whore," I told her. She looked up at me with terror in her eyes. "So, you want a naked sex holiday, do you? I think I can arrange that." I pulled out my phone and called Lopez. "When and where?" I asked. He texted me an address, which happened to be a dock on the east side of town. "Let's go," I told Mara, grabbing her by the arm. "You've got a nice berth waiting for you." "What are you talking about, Larry? Please don't do anything to me. It was only sex, and I really do love you. It didn't mean anything." "Shut the hell up. I've had it with you, your lies, your cheating, and your disrespect. It ends now." "Are you going to kill me?" she sobbed, looking at the Glock in my hand. "No, you stupid whore. That's illegal. I've got something better in mind, and I think you'll even like it." "At least let me get dressed," she begged. "No. You were going to walk out of this house naked with Ralph, so you can go with me naked. Besides, you won't need any clothes where you're going." "Where are you taking me?" she asked. "To your ride, dear," I said, dragging her naked to my car, throwing her into the front seat, and, "don't get any stupid ideas," I added, using the Glock for emphasis. About 30 minutes later, I pulled up to the address Lopez gave me. There was an old rusty steamer at the side of the dock. Several crew members watched as Lopez and another big man wearing what I thought was a captain's hat came over to the car. Mara tried to cover her nakedness as Lopez opened her door. "Don't worry, Mississippi. No need to cover yourself here," the man with the hat said. "Everyone here will get very familiar with you before you reach your destination," he added, laughing. Marcia looked at me, terrified. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Are you really handing me over to them? And where am I going?" "No, you gave yourself away a long time ago. I don't know where you'll end up, and I don't care anymore. But I suspect there will be a lot of sex and drugs involved. Hell, maybe in a few months, you'll forget all about me, Ralph, and your boring housewife life. I know I'll forget all about you. Besides, it's only sex, right?" Ralph ended up getting fired, and his wife took him to the cleaners in her divorce. He didn't take it too well and decided to get revenge on me instead. I happened to be in the house when he broke in, and I just happened to have my Glock. The 6 bullets I put into his chest ensured he would never break into my house again. The police seemed to agree. I never really knew for certain where Mara ended up, but I did read a story about a tramp steamer that was taken by Somali pirates off the coast of Africa. According to the story, authorities found the entire crew, which included a blonde American woman, dead, all victims of the pirates. And me? Well, April spent a lot of time consoling me. We spent a lot of time together and eventually got married. We're now expecting our 3rd child. Life is good. Before you ask, yes, cops came to ask about my ex-wife. I told them she went out for a vacation. The next time they came was to inform me about her demise. Yes, I was a suspect, but they cleared me from the list.